Welcome to Azazel Stories, starting with a stalker under my own name, Chezzin. But first, an introduction to what I will be doing with this series, and how it all works. I'll be playing Anomaly with the Gamma Modpack. I've added a number of additional mods alongside Gamma to add some extra difficulty and immersion, because why not? For this series, I'm going to be telling the story of each stalker I play till they die. Playing in Azazel Mode, after death, you possess another stalker randomly in the zone. Setting the difficulty to medium, starting as the loner faction in the cordon, classic Grok. Armed with only a shotgun, a pistol, a leather jacket, a mask and some meds, and then good old-fashioned alcohol. I hit start game and it crashed. Made some modifications, tweaked my mod list a tad, and we were back at it. After starting the game, I realized that my first stalker forgot his pistol at home, forcing us to make do with only the shotgun. In complete denial, I started looking around the room as if I just left my keys somewhere. It has to be here. Maybe it fell out of my pocket while I was asleep. Maybe I dropped it outside. I did drink a lot last night. Anyways, like any normal person, this put me into a metaphysical trance where I ended up checking to make sure all my settings were in order. I blame motion blur. It's always motion blur. Woke up from my trance shortly after and decided to take it all in. Wow. Staring up into a radiation-scorched atmosphere really brings out the need to steal everything that isn't nailed to the floor. Unfortunately, it seems like somebody else had this same urge not too long ago, and there really wasn't a whole lot left for me. So instead, I went into a manic state and visualized all my skills in front of my eyeballs. Just as expected, I don't know shit about anything. Everybody's telling me Sid is the man to talk to, so if there's anybody who can get me up to speed, it would be him. I steal the ammo out of his shoebox and then demand work from him, like the entitled little shit I am. He offers me a daily salary of bread and cigarettes, and I took the job before he even knew my name. I sold him back his own ammo as he finished his breakfast, for a decent amount of chump change. With whatever he was eating wafting in the air, I quickly decided to buy a Geiger counter and exit. I escaped the stench of Sid's vodka sweats to get a little bit of fresh air. It reminded me too much of back home. I saw this pretty cool looking guy chilling in the corner and went to talk with him, but not before I got distracted by my urge to steal. He noticed I was new and decided to offer me the chance to do chores with him. His name was Fanatic and he wanted some help wrestling up some local boars. I just so happened to be armed with a portable boar hunting weapon, so I figured how hard could this be? Maybe I can score a little bacon. We exit the village and head in a direction we were told they were gathering in before we spot them in the woods. And by them, I mean way more than Fanatic let on. I channeled my inner coward and initiated an advanced tactic called running around a tree as I reload. This tactic was too much for the mutated boars as I decorated their ribs in buckshot. I eventually detached from my tactical tree to assist Fanatic. We finished off the last of them before the local comms were asking about all the noise. Fanatic responded in the most normal way I could imagine any stalker would. I collected what I could from their corpses before moving on to the next chore Fanatic had for me. But first I wanted to confront him about his gross understatement about the boars. When I asked though, he refused to make eye contact with me, then told me where we were going next. So we started our way there and pet some of the local strays. Finally arriving at what I assumed to be a landfill. Asking Fanatic what we needed to do next, he quickly corrected me and told me what I needed to do next. He mentioned something about a jellyfish that was living in the landfill or something. I could barely hear him because he still refused to face me. I checked my equipment as I rounded the landfill, confirming everything was working before potentially exposing myself to spicy air. As soon as I heard the Geiger counter clicking, I took some Xanax, got over it, and went dumpster diving for a jellyfish. A detector starts going off as soon as I turn it on, which means an artifact must be nearby. I soon realized I gotta sweep the area for anomalies.
Not.
After collecting the jellyfish, I realized I probably absorbed a bit too much radiation for the day, and decided to head back out. I checked my Geiger counter just to kind of see how bad it is. Oh, not bad at all. Although it seems the combination of radiation and Xanax running through my system has given me a bit of a Mexico filter. Or I have a problem and I'm looking for any reason to drink alcohol. One chug later, I've quenched my crippling withdrawal and head back to Fanatic, where he rewards me with a half-assed thank you, continuing his agenda against eye contact. While the alcohol is still in my system, I decide to face the stench that is Sid once more to see if he has any other jobs to offer. Where he asks me to bring him back the scalps of 9 bandits, and simultaneously offering another job to kill one specific one. The hit's nickname was Dead Duck. Appropriate. Dead Duck was last seen somewhere in the Great Swamps, so I checked my PDA to see just how deep I had to go. Not very far in. In fact, he's pretty much down the street. If you had a military checkpoint that would shoot you on sight down the street, that is. So I saved my game, warmed myself up by the fire before heading out to hunt a duck. As I neared the last known location of Dead Duck, I decided to take a bit of a stealthier approach. Because where there's one dead duck, there tends to be other lame nicknames lurking around. I circled the small swamp hamlet till I got eyes on one nickname, but I remained hidden until I can confirm if he was alone. I waited a bit after the kill, hoping Dead Duck's death rattle would lure out any other bandits in hiding. I didn't hear anything, but I was still skeptical that Dead Duck was alone. So I cautiously made my approach, jingling all the loose change in my pocket and asking questions about cryptocurrencies, hoping to lure the remaining bandits out.
Does anyone know the price of fart coin right now?
After confirming the coast was clear, I explored the pockets of my hit. He had a bolt-action shotgun, some cash, and a heavy metal magazine. He was also wearing a Spirit Store quality school shooter outfit. Very poor taste, even for a bandit. I scavenged the hamlet for supplies before reflecting about what my family might think of me killing for money. With that, it was time for me to head back to Sid and collect my bounty. A skip, hop, and a shot of vodka later, I was already there with an open wallet. The cost of life in the zone is, questionable, but I'm hopeful this puts me in the good graces of Greasus, and I could use the extra cash on premium cigarettes. I took a little time to talk to the locals at the rookie camp, mostly to see if any of them had come across a spare weapon to trade. While the double barrel done me right, it's not enough the further north you go into the zone. After a couple no's, and whatever this is, I came to realize that thoughts and prayers will have to do for now. One stalker did mention a tunnel that would lead to another loner camp north. As I near the tunnel, I start to hear gunfire, so something's going on. After a couple minutes of no follow-up shots, I decide to investigate a little further. Probably just another stray finding a loving home. I get closer to the tunnel and notice that an artifact manifested right in front of it. Jackpot! I check my detector for more, but it comes up cold. A win is still a win though. I keep an eye on the tunnel as I peek into the nearby stash box, but something doesn't seem right. I listen to the goosebumps on my neck and take a peek down the tunnel before I see heads moving. My, stalker intuition tells me that they are military men, which I am not ready to face just yet. So like a sophisticated thinking man, I decide to run away, only crying a little bit. I hide around a nearby mill, hoping they will just pass through, till I hear footsteps on the other side of the building. Thankfully, my flimsy little rookie body doesn't make much noise, so I was able to remain undetected as I investigated. Confirming they were only bandits, I felt I had a good enough position to keep them from pushing. 2 down. Feeling pretty good. One of them has to have a spare weapon. I was careful in my approach, although it seemed that the remaining bandits had Bethesda fever and blamed their friend's death on the wind. Their complete lack of awareness kind of made picking them off a little too easy, almost sad. I approached their dead bodies around the campfire, realizing that they never even fired back. Was I the bandit? I felt lost. empty. After picking up a Fort 17 and a Mosin, I felt pretty whole again though. Not to mention all the cash and meds I had. I stripped them of all their edgelord patches and moved on. I spent some time organizing my loot before returning to the tunnel, discovering that some loners had stationed up there now. I felt much safer till I realized they were part of the Lame Nickname Club, so I started to get a little suspicious. I took that as a hint to speed it up. I hurried over to the other side of the tunnel to find two more loners pointing their weapons in my direction. They seemed to be okay with me passing through, so I assumed this dead body was just a hilarious prank I wouldn't get unless I was there, before realizing it was a renegade member. I continued my way towards the loner camp, which looked more like a fort on approach. I walk in, afflicting everyone with my main character syndrome, before discovering the workbench. Like any stalker, I spent an embarrassing amount of time reviewing my gear and crafting options, with the priority being gun maintenance. By the time I was done drooling over inventory screens, it felt like I knew Loris and Xenotech all my life. I warmed up by the fire while I planned my next route, deciding to just continue north to the region they called Garbage. Speaking of garbage, I was starting to get hungry, so I had to figure out what to eat. I was torn between radioactive boar chop or radioactive dog chop, both of which I previously roasted back at a campfire in the Rookie Village. I ultimately decided on the boar chop because I was a hungry boy. Or a hungry boy. Checked my radiation levels to see if I broke any of my personal records. Kinda did. Not very impressive though. A quick visit from the doctor should fix me up.
That's that Dr. Pell.
I skirmished a boar as I crossed the street, heading towards some ruined houses.
Deploying tactical tree.
One future boar chop later, and I was on my way to do some loot. My detector wasn't coming up with anything, but I figured I could get some supplies at the very least. So I invited myself in. Unfortunately, I only really found one thing I felt was worth grabbing. With my rations resupplied, I continued my journey towards the garbage. Something great awaits me there. I could smell it. I see someone on the roads heading towards me and take a defensive position. They're by themselves, so I figured this would be a good time for me to try out the Fort 17. I hesitate a moment, making sure that no one else is around before finally taking the shot. Unfortunately, my Nerf bullets bounce off his fucking titanium alloy cheekbones. I clear a jam as he's closing in, preparing myself to pepper him with more Nerf bullets, hoping that he acknowledges that I hit him before I have to tell Mom because he's cheating. Another bullet deflects off his slippery forehead, and I realize this might be karma. I'm paying dearly for those bandits I massacred. The gun I stole off their corpses betrayed me. I choke on the blood filling my lungs as the game laughs at me one final time before it goes to black. And with that, ends the story of our first stalker, Chezzin. Thanks for watching.